Previously on Maplestory the novel, Sacred Tears.
I thought you said you wanted to find a way to extract the darkness from the world.
It is so complex that 100 lifetimes would pass by from studying from afar.
Isn't this fun, Lotus? We get to live like humans.
You need to find the root, and the tree will topple.
I warn you again, this path may grant you more regret than you can afford.
And now the continuation of Chapter 10, Part 2. When Ephania left her body, Dane carefully pulled the covers over her, kissing her cheek one last time. To try and distract his mind from the gnawing solitude, he began working in earnest to make Lotus and Orchid human. Even with the prospect for new information, Ephania's absence made the work feel slow and old. 2 weeks passed as Dane gathered materials and information from Margata to perform the transmutation. The process was similar to Dr. Long's experiment all those years ago, only Dane's version wouldn't involve inorganic matter.
Are you finally ready?
Orchid asked impatiently, staring at the large painted circle on the ground sporting symbols and letters.
Almost. There are still a few questions I have for you once we're done.
Dane stated as Lotus scoffed.
Don't worry, human. We won't be going anywhere anytime soon. I'm beginning to find you as interesting as you find us.
Dane nodded to Lotus's declaration, stepping inside the circle and writing out a dark alchemy formula. As he wrote it, he paused, contemplating part of it. If he wrote it out with the current iteration, the formula could amplify the darkness within them, twisting and mutating what these beings would become. Dane changed the circle with some quick calculations to only break down these beings' energy-based existence and restructure it as organic flesh and blood. As he wrote, memories of when he and Minadora had helped prepare this same circle in Margata came to mind. The memories didn't bring any pain as they had, but there was that ever-nagging knot of loneliness that never left him. A wave of fatigue washed over him, reminding him of Ephania's absence, but interrupted when Orchid tapped his shoulder with her stubby arm.
Now are you ready?
She pressed. Dane quickly scrawled out the last of the circle, nodding with a smirk and holding out his hand for them to enter it.
Remember, we want to look the same.
Orchid exclaimed as Dane set his hands on the outer transmutation circle, a smaller version of the Great Circle in Margata. Light domed around the beings, humming with a low resonance.
I remember.
Dane answered, shifting the positioning of his hands as the reaction intensified. Swirls of energy pulsated, crossing around and through the two of them. With another shift of his hands, the dark circle faded to life. Darker power passed through them, slowly diffusing their form.
Human Dane, what are you doing?
Demanded Lotus, his eyes moving with panicked excitement as he and Orchid were slowly disappearing.
Think of this as a cocoon. You will be alright.
Dane reassured, shifting the position of his fingers as their form completely diffused and their eyes began to fade.
Lotus, I'm scared.
Orchid called when both of them faded into nothing but swirls of energy. Dane shifted his fingers once more, beginning the process of making their bodies. Skeletons formed, overlaid with organs, muscle structure, and finally, skin. In the last few moments of the reaction, resentful whispers began to hiss over the noise. Dane clenched his jaw, trying to block them out when a cloud of black within the circles appeared. Time slowed to a standstill. Dane watched as particles of energy inched by while a high-pitched ring stabbed his ears. Dust hung in a thick cloud all around him when purple eyes opened within the black cloud.
So, you dare attempt that which is forbidden?
A voice asked as the cloud appeared to rear and approach Dane.
It is a promise I made in exchange to understand the darkness.
To understand me, you mean?
The cloud replied, cutting Dane off.
You are the darkness.
Yes and no. I am a part of it. A part that is within everyone. Even you, little mage. You seek to create life. 2 lives, no less. This is the doing only of gods and mothers. You are neither.
I may not be a god, but I have found the power.
No, you aren't even close.
The darkness chuckled.
You found the means to create a body. Nothing more.
Lies.
Dane jabbed as the cloud seemed to tilt to the side, almost mocking him.
Do I? Tell me then, little mage, what do you see here?
The cloud asked, turning slightly as if motioning towards Lotus and Orchid.
2 beings about to become twin human children.
Dane answered. The cloud's eyes became lines as if he had closed them, both of them weaving back and forth within its form.
Look closer. What do you see? Look closer. What do you see?
Dane was puzzled. Looking closer at the twins' bodies and the mass of swirling energy around them, he could see... No, it couldn't be.
There is no life.
Dane murmured.
Exactly, little mage. You used up the energy your pets were made of to create these 2 bodies, pulling the elements together, stitching together flesh and blood. But the life you wish to give them isn't there.
That can't be. My research
Is flawed, human. You lack power. Even these adamant strength circles cannot ignite the flame of life within them. Their memories will all be there, but they will only watch as they fade from existence.
No.
You only manage to kill when you try to create.
No.
Minodora should know this best of all.
The shadow hissed. Dane looked up with a cloud from under his long hair, his bright, intelligent blue eyes dark and livid.
You dare speak her name.
Dane seethed. The cloud laughed with ethereal echoes, snapping its attention back to him.
Yes, I dare. But look to the twins once again.
The cloud prodded. Dane turned his attention to them, and for a brief moment, even within this microscopic movement, there was a plume of blue flame. It burned out within a moment, but it had been there.
What was that?
Dane asked.
That was their life force sparking. That is the true power of darkness, of dark alchemy. I didn't spark that life. Your darkness sparked that life. Darkness may be the concentration of so much pain, but it can grant one unimaginable power when focused through a single emotion. It can even create a god.
How can this be? Darkness is causing the death of so many. Creatures are spawning whose only whim is death and destruction.
The cloud swirled and charged Dane, inches from his face where hundreds of whispers just shy of decipherable could be heard.
Have you heard nothing, little mage? Darkness must be focused through a single emotion. The creatures that come to life are tormented by a myriad of emotions, unable to find focus, as their body and mind have long since vanished. But you still have your mind and logic. You could use the darkness to do anything. You have the training and mental fortitude to focus it.
Why would I attempt something so dangerous? The gain in power may be great, but the chance for corruption is far too high. Even my experiments in containing a small bit of darkness nearly drives me to an emotional break.
The cloud laughed and backed away enough so that he could see Lotus and Orchid clearly.
That is for you to choose. Use the darkness within these two, myself, to make your promise come true, or let them die, here and now.
Dane looked from the cloud to the twins, warring within himself. Ephania would undoubtedly have none of him using the darkness as a power source, even less so Minodora. But he had 2 lives hanging by a thread in his hands. He couldn't just extinguish life. There was a heavy weight to life. All life.
What must I do?
Dane asked, hanging his head in acceptance. The cloud's eyes smirked.
All you must do is hold out your hand and accept. Think of only one emotion. It matters not. Then channel me through that emotion while thinking of what you want to happen. The rest will happen as normal.
And how do I know that using you will not corrupt me?
You don't, little mage. Your will alone determines your ability to resist my pull, but resisting it means that its power will be out of reach to you.
Dane sighed, hesitating before holding out his hand. The cloud's eyes smirked as it was pulled into his palm as a slimy mass. Resisting the urge to shiver in disgust, Dane thought back to his happiest moment with Minodora, hanging on to that one emotion as hard as he could in hopes that it would help prevent corruption. The contrast of rage within the glop and the happiness he remembered made channeling the darkness difficult. Time gained its speed once more as Dane thought of what he wanted to happen. Power, unlike anything he had ever felt, rushed through him. It almost hurt as it surged down his arms into the circles, leaving him with an adrenaline high. A blue flame burst to life within the twins' chest as the energy gradually subsided, melting into their bodies as they drifted to the ground. Once the light of both circles faded, the twins lay still on the grass of the forest. Dane looked to his palms, seeing fading veins of black etched into his skin. The sheer volume of power he had just felt amazed him as new theories came to mind.
That's it,
he whispered to himself when he heard a stirring. Lotus was the first to open his emerald green eyes, turning his head this way and that. He tried to move, but he only floundered in his position. Dane abandoned his thoughts, going to Lotus and helping him sit up. The new body was that of a male child, no older than 10. Short white hair sat upon his head, with a lean but athletic form. Orchid soon followed, her body of a girl with long white hair and sapphire blue eyes. She whimpered as though trying to speak, becoming panicked when she couldn't move. Dane again helped her sit up, propping them both against a nearby rock and beginning to teach them how to speak and move their new bodies. Within hours, the twins were walking. Orchid especially seemed to like her new form, relishing the feel of grass between her toes. Once Dane was sure they would be all right with James to watch them, he returned to his room and began to quickly write in his journal.
In making Lotus and Orchid into human children, I have found there's more to the darkness than I realized. I was confronted by the part of it that altered the twins and was told that I could harness it. I was skeptical at first, but after using it to create the twins, I feel I have finally found a way to rid the world of darkness. I thought before the ultimate light, found in love, would be the only key. Now, I have found a much more potent light, and to do that, I must find the ultimate darkness. Only from the ultimate darkness can the ultimate light be found.
The table hummed as his pen rasped across the grain of his desk, sounding higher and higher in pitch the faster he wrote.
Tomorrow, I'll experiment with this concept. Perhaps if used in small amounts, I can avoid the problems of corruption by the darkness itself.
When your fires all die out, oh, you know just turns to ash, and your life goes slipping, spinning into doubt. Sunshine trapped inside your heart, cold and lost and in the dark. Looking back on all this, nobody was there. Nothing left to lose. Gotta find the you that's hidden deep, deep down, and light the fire in yourself. Never be afraid to fall, throw yourself into it. Victory's waiting for you. Go fight, show your energy. Don't slow down, no time to waste. Nothing's stopping you now. It's gonna be your day. Hopes and wishes never fade. Fight to make them stronger. Nothing will take them from you. Go